We continue now at the top of Daf Tazayin Amud Aleph Meseches Yevamos. This is Yevamos Daf 16a. The Gemara is continuing Rabbi Yehoshua's response when he was asked, what's the halacha regarding Tsaras Erva? Do we follow Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel? He said in terms of the co-wife herself, he did not want to answer. He didn't want to get involved in the machlokas between the great Beis Shammai and the great Beis Hillel. However, B'nei Tsaros, when it comes to the children of the co-wives, Ani Meid Lechem, that I can testify about that for you. Rashi over here says, B'nei Tsaros de Beis Hillel de Kabo Isu Imheim Pegumim. You were asking if the children of the co-wives, let's say they marry outside of the family without chalitza, are they pegumim or not? Are they blemished to kohanim, to marry kohanim? And he said, Meir ani lachem, I testify for you, shehem kohanim gedolim. On the contrary, they're serving as kohanim gedolim. They are not pogum from the kahuna. And the Gemara continues, Tashma, come in here another proof. Bimei Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus, in the days of Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus, Hutra, Tsaras Habas La'achin, they said that it was permitted for the Tsaras Habas, again the co-wife of the daughter, co-wife of Erva, to marry the brothers in accordance with the position of Beis Shammai. Shmamino, Asu Shmamino. You see that they followed, those who held like Beis Shammai would actually follow the rulings of Beis Shammai. Indeed, you see that this is a proof. Rashi over here says, Bimei Rabbi Dosa Hutra Achiv Shel Rabbi Dosa Shaymi Talmidei Beis Shammai. This refers to the brother of Rabbi Dosa, who was one of the students of Beis Shammai. He permitted her, Kedetani Lekamon. We're going to see this later on. V'asu al piv, and they actually did what he said. V'noagu kain, we see that this actually was the minhag. And the Gemara continues, Gufa, returning to what we just mentioned. Bimei Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus Hitiru Tzaras Habas La'achin. During the days of Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus, they permitted the Tzaras Habas to marry the brothers, to do yibum. V'haya hadavar kasha l'chachamim, and this was difficult to the chachamim. Because he was a great chacham, referring to Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus, his eyes were no longer able to see, therefore he wasn't able to go to the Beis Medrash, and they didn't know exactly how they should respond. So Amru, they said, Mi Yelech, who should go v'yodio and let him know that he seems to be issuing a ruling against Beis Hillel. We hold like Beis Hillel, not like Beis Shammai. Amr lehen Rabbi Yoshua said, Ani Yelech, I will go. V'achar of me, and who should follow him? Who should follow Rabbi Yoshua? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. They said, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he'll go along with Rabbi Yoshua. V'achar of me, and after him, who should go? Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva will go along again with Rabbi Yoshua and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. So Halchov Yamdu al Pesach Beiso, they went and they stood at the door of his house. Nichnasa Shivchaso, his maidservant entered. Amra lo, she said to him, Rebbe Chachme Yisrael Boi Netzlacha. She said, Rebbe, the sages of Israel are coming to visit you. So Amar La, so he said to her, Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus said to her, Yikansu, let them enter, v'nichnasu, and they entered. Tafsul Rabbi Yoshua v'hoshivuhu al mita shel zav. He grabbed Rabbi Yoshua and he let him sit on a golden mita, golden bed or couch. The idea here is that Rabbi Yoshua was the eldest among the sages, so Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus, he recognized Rabbi Yoshua, he didn't recognize the others. Amar le Rebbe, emor le talmidcha acher v'yeshiv. He said to him, Rebbe, tell your other student, let him sit down. Amar lo, so Rabbi Dosa ben Horkanus said, Mihu, who is this other student? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, it's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Amar, so he said, V'yeshlo ben la Azariah chavereinu, is there really a son to Azariah, our friend? Kara olav hamikra hazeh, he called about him the following pasuk, Nar ha'isi gam zakanti, I was young and I'm also old. V'lo ra'isi tzadik nezav, I never saw a tzadik being forsaken. V'zaru mevakesh lochem, I never saw his children seeking bread. This is a reference to the fact that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was from a very wealthy family, so it means to say that his children, meaning the children of Azariah, they weren't seeking bread, they continued with the wealth. He had someone to leave over his wealth too. Tafsu v'hoshivu al mita shel zav, so they took him, talking about Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and they put him on a mita shel zav, on a golden couch. Amar le Rebbe emor le talmidcha acher v'yeshev. Then he said to him, Rebbe, tell your other student, there's a third person here, he should sit down. Amar le said to him, Umihu, and who is this person? Akiva ben Yosef, it's Akiva ben Yosef, Rabbi Akiva. Amar le ato Akiva ben Yosef, he said to him, you're Akiva ben Yosef, sheshimcha holech misofa olam v'ad sofa, your reputation goes from one end of the world to the other. Shev b'ni shev, sit down, my son, sit. Kamoscha yirbu b'Yisrael, there should be more like you in Klal Yisrael. So they began to surround him with halachas. They started halachic discussions with him. Until they reached the case of the Tzaras Habas. Amruleh, they said to him, Tzaras Habas mahu, what is the halacha by Tzaras Habas? Amar lahen, he said to them, Machlokas Beis Shammai Beis Hillel, that's a Machlokas Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Halacha kedivrei mi, they asked him, who does the halacha follow? Amar lahen, he said to them, Halacha ke Beis Hillel, the halacha is like Beis Hillel. Amruleh, so they said to him, V'halom mishimcha amru halacha ke Beis Shammai. But wasn't it said in your name that the halacha is like Beis Shammai? Amar Lem, he said to them, Dosa shematem o ben Horkanus shematem. Did you hear that it was Dosa, meaning did you hear it was me? Or maybe all you heard was it was ben Horkanus, the son of Horkanus. Amrulei, they said to him, Chaye Rebbe Stam Shamanu. They said, by the life of Rebbe, we just heard it Stam. Actually, it was not identifying you specifically. It was just Ben Horkenes. So Amar Lahem, so he said to them, Ach Koton Yeshli, I have a younger brother. Bechor Satanhu. He's a firstborn of the Satan. It means to say that he can argue halacha very well. You won't be able to take him on in a halachic argument. V'Yonasan Shimon, his name is Yonasan. V'humi Talmidei Shammai, he's from the students of Shammai. V'Hizoaru, but be careful. Shalo yikapeach eschem b'halachas. He shouldn't defeat you when it comes to arguing about halachas. Lefi sheyesh imo shalosh meyos teshuvos betzaras habas, because he has 300 responses when it comes to the issue of tzaras habas. Shehi mutaris, that she's actually mutter, meaning like Beis Shammai, that she can do yibum with the brothers. Avol meir ani al olai shamayim va'aretz, but the shamayim va'aretz can testify on me. Shal meducha zu yeshev Chagai Hanavi, that it was on this mortar that Chagai Hanavi sat. V'amar, and he said shlosha dvarim. He said the following three things. Tzaras habas asura. Number one, he said that tzaras habas is asur, like the position of Beis Hillel. Ammon uMoav ma'asr and meiser ani b'shvius. Ammon and Moav, these are territories that they did not have the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, so you were allowed to plant them on shvius, on the Shemitah year, and you treated them as if they were regular, not like Eretz Yisrael, where you have to let the land lay fallow. Now the issue was, the Rabbanan also said that you should take off meisers, since you're already planting. Normally Shemitah year you don't plant, you don't take off meisers, but in these areas you do. But the question is, do you do meiser sheni or meiser ani? Because meiser sheni is on years of the Shemitah cycle, it's on years 1, 2, 4, and 5. Meiser ani is on years 3 and 6. Here we have year 7. The Rabbanan weren't sure what to do, so this is a testimony that you do meiser ani in the Shemitah year. The idea is that the aniyim don't have as much in the Shemitah year, so you have some more to give them. Umekablim gerim, and then the last thing I heard, again from Chagai Hanavi, was the following: we accept converts min ha-karduyin or min ha-tarmudim, from the karduyin and the tarmudim. Now the issue over here was the karduyin and the tarmudim. There might be a concern of mamzerus, and therefore if there is a concern of mamzerus, we would not accept converts. And he's saying over here that there's no concern of mamzerus when it comes from the karduyin and the tarmudim. We'll see more on this later on. And the Gemara continues, Tana was taught, Keshenichnesu, when they entered, Nichnesu b'Pesach echad. They all entered in the same door when they came into his house. Kesheyetzu, but when they left, Yetzu b'Shlosha Psachim. Then they left by 3 different doorways. The idea here might be that they were trying to find the brother of Rabbi Dosa ben Horkenes, or maybe they were trying to find him separately. They didn't want to all find him together, that he would defeat them all in halacha. But in any case, they left separately. That's the point of the Gemara. Paga Boba Rabbi Akiva. So then he met the brother of Rabbi Dosa ben Horkenes. He met Rabbi Akiva. Akshi Levu Ukme. Then he asked questions on him, and he was able to defeat him. In other words, the brother of Rabbi Dosa ben Horkenes defeated Rabbi Akiva in this halachic argument. Amar Lo, he said to him, Atahu Akiva, are you Akiva? Sheshimcha holech misofa olam v'yad sofa, that your reputation goes from one end of the world to the other. Ashrecha shezachisa l'shem, you're fortunate that you've merited to have this reputation. Ve'adayin lo higata l'roi boker, but you haven't yet even reached the level of somebody who takes care of cattle. You haven't reached a great level. That's why I've defeated you in halacha. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva said back to him, Va'afilu l'roi tzon. He said, I'm even less than that. I haven't even reached the level of a shepherd of sheep. And we'll take a look at a few Rashis over here. Bechor Satan, who he said his brother is the firstborn of the Satan, means to say Chariv. He's very sharp. V'yomer al Shmua, he knows the sugyas. V'yosa ma'isa ve'no shav mishvuah. So when he issues a psak, he doesn't go back lasos karabim. He doesn't do like the majority. He's willing to go against the majority. Ammon and Moav. Another thing that they heard from Chagai was that the territories of Ammon and Moav, Yisraelim hadorim be'eretz Ammon and Moav. This means the Jews who are living in Ammon and Moav. Shakivesh Moshe misichon. This was the same territory that Moshe Rabbeinu conquered from Sichon. V'niskadshu b'kedusha Eretz Yisrael. So at that time they had the holiness of Eretz Yisrael. V'achsha b'bayis sheni. But now that we're in bayis sheni, so badla kedusha. At that time the kedusha was batal. It was nullified. V'zorim b'shvius. So since it's nullified, it's not a status of Eretz Yisrael. They would plant during the Shemitah year. V'tiknu lahen ma'aser rishon u'ma'aser ani b'shvius. And they made a takana that you should also give, even though it's Shemitah year, you should give ma'aser rishon and ma'aser ani. This will be explained later on. This is because of the parnasa for the poor in Eretz Yisrael. They don't have what to eat during the Shemitah year. Because there's no leket shechan. So therefore they can go to these territories and they can get the leket shechan, they can get the ma'aser ani. We accept converts from these different areas. We don't say they're mamzerim. And the issue over here is that it was Jewish women, but these Jewish women, they had relations with idol worshippers, with Ovdei Kochavim. The Ika Rabban and the Pasli, there are sages who say that in such a case, the child is a mamzer. not everybody holds that if you have a Ovdei Kochavim with Benos Yisrael, they have a child together, that's Mamzerim, but there is a Shita like that. So that's what it's saying over here. No, Mekavlim Gerim, we accept converts from them. We don't consider these children to be Mamzerim. Pagabo Yonasan Rabbi Akiva, and then finally the story was that Yonasan, again, this is Yonasan ben Hurkanis, he met with Rabbi Akiva and he defeated him in this halachic argument. The Gemara continues, Ammon u'Moav ma'asrin meiser ani b'shvius. Another thing that was heard from Chagai was that Ammon and Moav, in those territories, you should take off meiser ani in the Shemitah year. Diamar mar, because the master said, Harbe krochim kivshu oli Mitzrayim. There were a lot of areas which were conquered by those who came up from Mitzrayim, meaning those who came up with Yehoshua from Mitzrayim. Velo kivshu oli Bavel, but subsequently, after the Golus Bavel, they came back for Bayis Sheni. They weren't conquered those territories. Ukedusha Rishona Kitchel L'Shaita V'lo Kitchel L'Asid Lavo. Now, the original Kedusha, meaning from the Ole Mitzrayim, it was holy only temporarily, but not forever. So once they were exiled to Bavel, once you had the situation of Golus Bavel, that Kedusha left. When they came back up and they didn't reconquer those territories, so those territories no longer had Kedusha. V'hinichum, and then they designated those areas that left them aside, purposely didn't make them Kadosh. Kadesha Yismachu Alein Aniyim B'Shvius. That way, the Aniyim, the poor, could rely on those areas during the Shemitah year, like we explained above. It says we're allowed to accept converts from the Karduyim and the Tarmudim. We're not afraid of situations of Mamzerus. So the Gemara said, Ini, is that really true? Vatani Rami Bar Yecheskel, but Rami Bar Yecheskel taught, Ein Mekavlim Gerim min HaKarduyim. We do not accept Gerim from the Karduyim, exactly the opposite. Amar Ravashi says, Kartuyim Itmar. No, when we said that, that was talking about the Kartuyim, that's a different nation. Keda Amri Inshi, like people say, Kartuyim Pesulim. When it comes to the Kartuyim, they are actually Pasul. And Rashi over here explains, Ein Mekavlim Gerim Mefarish L'Kaman, why we don't accept Gerim from the Kartuyim, that's explained later on, Shemam Zerim Hein Mi Yisrael, Shenitmu Sham. They're actually Mamzerim because there were Jews over there who got mixed up among that nation, so you do have a problem of Mamzerus when it comes to the Kartuyim. And the Gemara continues, V'ika Diamri, there are those that say this is another version of the above discussion. Tani Rami Bar Yecheskel taught, Ein Mekavlim Gerim min HaKartuyim. The original statement was, we don't accept Gerim from the Kartuyim. My love, is it not? Hainu Kartuyim, Hainu Karduyim. The Kartuyim and Karduyim is the same thing. Amar Ravashi says, Lo, no, Kartuye Lechud v'Karduye Lechud. Kartuye is separate, Karduye is separate. They're not the same thing. Again, like we said before, Kedamri Inchi, like people say Kartuye, Pesile. The Kartuye, they're considered Pasul. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan v'Savaya da'amri Tarvayu. Rabbi Yochanan and the elders, they both say, Ein Mekavlim Gerim min HaTarmudim. You're not allowed to accept converts from the Talmudim. The Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan hachi, but does Rabbi Yochanan really say that? But we learned in the Mishnah, all the stains that come from rekem, they're pure. The idea over here is that the garments that are stained with blood from women who are not Jewish, those garments were considered pure, but if they were Jewish, they were considered impure. So the Tanakam of the Mishnah is saying that if it comes from rekem, you could assume it's non-Jewish, and therefore it's pure. Rabbi Yehuda metame, but Rabbi Yehuda says no, it's tameh. Mimnei shem geirim v'toim, because these garments are really from geirim, from converts, and they're just v'toim. They're just mistaken, meaning they worship idols. They don't practice Judaism, but they actually, in fact, are converts. They're Jewish. Mibein ha'ovdei kochavim tahorim, but if it comes from the idol worshippers, from the non-Jews, so then they are pure. V'havinon bo, and we asked on this Mishnah, and we'll take a look at Rashi over here. Haksamim shenimsu bebegodim haboy merekem. We're talking about the stains that are found on the garments that come from rekem. Tahorim, they're tahor. Why? There was no derabbanan decree on the stained garments of ovdei kochavim. Shehem geirim, but the other opinion is no, they're converts. V'doma metame, the blood is tameh. V'toim shehim miru dasam. Tom over here means they rejected their religion. V'gazru al kismeim, and so there is a gzera on their stained garments. She'af al pi shechatu shehim miru yisraelim, even though they sinned and they rebelled, they're still considered Jewish. But mibein ovdei kochavim, but if it comes from the non-Jews, she'ein Yisrael darim sham, meaning areas where the Jews are not living, so then again it's going to be pure. We'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Tez Zayin Amud Beis.